All right, it's time for the Tilley and Billy podcast. I'm Joe Tilley.
My name is Billy.
All right, Billy. First order of business is the Kawhi Leonard trade to the Raptors. What were your first thoughts when you heard about the trade?
My first thoughts when I heard about the trade is was conflicted from the beginning, right? So on one hand, you're getting a top 5 player, a mercurial guy you don't know nothing about, been injured, but you hear Kawhi Leonard, right? Kawhi Leonard represents superstar, represents something bigger than us, bigger than the city of Toronto always has.
But we do know about Kawhi Leonard from previous years. This guy's a 2-time NBA Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and a Finals MVP. So
that never wore a jersey. Yeah. That's never worn the jersey. So a guy that we don't, the guy that has never worn our jersey, all of a sudden, you know what he is today? He's the best player in franchise history. That's what we have today.
That's
perhaps,
right.
Possibly, right?
Yeah,
So
potentially.
So again, that's the interesting piece there. So I'm thinking about a 59 win team. Thinking about number 1 seed. I'm thinking about the second best record in the NBA. Solid core, young developing team. And we got a fired coach. We got an exiled superstar. We got a disgruntled, no doubt about it, point guard that doesn't know where he stands today, right? And we got a guy coming into the fold that we've never heard of, that barely exists. He's a ghost, except for what his people say. So I don't know how you feel about that.
We know this is what we know about DeMar DeRozan, a great player, okay, a 4-time All-Star, solid player who loved Toronto. He wanted to stay in Toronto. Matter of fact, at one time he said, "I am Toronto." So this is a guy it's hard to let a guy like that leave. I understand that, but when you've got a guy who is the problem with the Raptors is at playoff time, right? They're a great regular season team, 59 wins, but what did they do in the playoffs? They got swept by the Cavaliers in Game 3 of that series against the Cavs. DeMar DeRozan rode the bench in the fourth quarter when the Raptors came from behind to make it a game and almost steal one. Kawhi Leonard is not a guy who you'd ever sit on the bench in any situation like that. He is a defensive monster.
Absolutely.
He's a guy that's going to carry a team come playoff time. That is a difference. 59 wins is great, but this team, a general manager's job should be A, to win championships, and B, to sell tickets in that order. He has to win championships. And this is all about winning championships. Kawhi Leonard gives him a better opportunity to win championships than DeMar DeRozan does.
You know what? Here's the deal. Here's the funny thing. I agree with you 100%. Those were my sentiments exactly. I speak from the beginning to the critics. I'm on board with you 100% in that kind of way. I love DeRozan. I love DeRozan, the man, the humanitarian, the way he connected to a city, right? But at the end of the day, DeMar DeRozan was never the main piece, the main actor, the main production in a championship level club, period, end of story.
And was never going to be.
So if you're a jury, what do you do at that point? Do you settle for what you have and hope that because LeBron's gone, you hope you can find a piece, given salary cap restraints, that you can bring in a piece and make DeRozan and to different degree Lowry elevate? Can you do that? So obviously a jury said he can't. He can't do that. So that's the trade. But the tough piece with the trade is Toronto sports fans got this complex. And you should know it. You've been doing this for years. A Yankee comes up here, right?
Right.
He loves us. What do? We love him. We love him to death. A guy from California came and he wants to be a part of us.
Had an opportunity to go back to
Had an opportunity to go back home. He was loyal to us. He would,
right.
And that comes from what? That comes from Toronto.
So, fan loyalty, great.
Based on what?
Again, I'm a general manager. Job 1, win championships.
Yes.
Job 2, sell tickets. Keep the fans happy. Number 3, probably. So my number one priority as Masai jury is to win a championship. This deal puts me closer to winning a championship.
For 1 year, maybe.
Yeah, 1 year. But you know what? You got a year to try to sell them to Toronto and Canada.
All right. So if you're selling now, you're a jury, right? You're selling. We know nothing about the inner workings of Kawhi Leonard's mind. We know very little. Did a little bit of research on my own. Kawhi Leonard's got a kid. He's got a daughter that's a year and a half old.
Right.
Kawhi Leonard's girlfriend, fiance, we don't even know. They don't even know. They don't tell. She's not on social media. He's nowhere to be found. So what does that tell you about Kawhi? Even if he doesn't talk, he tells you everything by not talking. He's a very private person.
Right.
He loves his inner circle.
Right.
Right. So I don't know. I would tell him if I'm Messiah.
Well, I tell you something. If you ever want to make a political statement, come to Canada and stay here.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And in this climate, I mean, that's probably a few athletes would like to.
Yeah. Absolutely. You okay? So Leonard walks down Yorkville tomorrow, right? How many out of 10 people, everybody will look at him because he's 6'7", everybody looks at tall guys, right? But how many people in Yorkville will know Kawhi Leonard? He likes his privacy. Mm-hmm. You like your privacy, you like your distance, you don't want to be in the spotlight. What better place, man? The only thing he's got to do is get him a Canada Goose jacket and prepare him for what's happening here in December and January, right?
Right.
So, but that's not the only piece. The piece is you can sell him on that. And I think for that guy, is the most important thing, because the thing you got to understand about him, and I in thinking, is he doesn't give a shit about money. If he did, if he was a money guy, like we consider all these NBA guys money guys, right? Greedy, this, that, the other. This guy turned down a max deal from Popovich, San Antonio, and he won a ring, so he's a principled guy. Something bothered him. We don't know what, we may never know what, but something bothered the guy, and he says, I got to get at, he put $40 million.
I think it had something to do with the way that he handled his injury.
Yeah.
I think that's where it stemmed from. But,
so what do you say, $40 million aside for that? I don't want to re-up with you, so Raps can't sign him for the same money.
But another thing is, too, is this is one sort of, one thing that the Raptors have that nobody else has, is when you play for the Raptors, you're not playing for a city, you're playing for a country. Mm-hmm. And when you've got the whole country behind you, you can get pretty jazzed up. I imagine this team making a long playoff run, say winning the conference title, getting to the NBA final. The kind of support that he's going to see coast to coast is going to drive him, drive up the value of the team in his eyes.
Yeah, the trick is there as communicators. How do you convince an inner city kid that's never thought about any kind of this stuff, the magnitude and the depth of that? How do you get in his head and his heart, right, to understand that? Because again, if there's no level of communication, if there's no level of expression, he's stuck in his own mind. How do we get somebody? And I'm sure they're out there somewhere doing this job. But how do you explain to him? You can not only be the face of the Toronto Raptors, you can be the face of basketball in Canada. Every kid that's playing basketball now, from Wiggins to you name it, is playing. Why? Because they saw Vince Carter when they were this tall. That's Kawhi Leonard's legacy. That's what the selling point's got to be right away. And while you're building this brand, you can also remain anonymous in a city that's, you know what, man, you said San Antonio. I've never been to San Antonio, but I'd imagine
it's not Toronto.
It's not Toronto, so number one, right?
And
so
it's not Canada.
So those are selling points. Plus, man, the Eastern Conference is wide open, man. Mm-hmm. It's Eastern Conference is wide open. Kawhi, you stay here, we build a little piece here and there, right? You're playing in you're the LeBron James of the Eastern Conference, man. Mm-hmm. You know, we're hands down the best team. That's a good selling point, but how do you do it to a guy that has never even for a minute considered Toronto, Ontario, Canada as the place he's gonna,
as a destination,
right? And that's tough, right? So obviously we got to be patient too.
Well, okay, so we're gonna find out, and a lot of these questions are gonna be answered over the next year. It's gonna be exciting to see.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit of baseball. It's the second half of the season coming up.